A poor girl gave her only food to a millionaire who was crying in the street. "Sir, do you also cry from hunger?" He was overcome with grief, reliving the anniversary of his son's death. She, though hungry, offered everything she had with a pure and unpretentious gesture, and in that unlikely encounter, she began to unveil a truth that time and suffering had buried. If this story interested you, subscribe to our channel, don't forget to like this video, and tell us which city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The frigid Boston winter showed no mercy to 7-year-old Emma Carter. Small and frail, with tangled blonde hair and clothes 3 sizes too big, she scurried through the narrow alleyways of the city's forgotten corners, a seasoned survivor despite her tender age. 3 months had passed since her mother had fallen into a mysterious coma, leaving Emma to escape the overcrowded foster home where they'd placed her. The system had failed her, but her spirit remained unbroken. Emma's day began like any other. A search for food and recyclables that might earn her a few coins. Her makeshift shelter, hidden behind a dumpster in an abandoned lot, had kept her relatively safe from the harsh elements and prying eyes of those who might send her back to the system. She was small for her age, but her eyes, large, expressive, and startlingly blue, carried a wisdom far beyond her years. Just one more day, she whispered to herself, a daily ritual that somehow kept her going. Her breath formed small clouds in the bitter January air as she pulled her threadbare coat tighter around her thin frame. Across town, in the penthouse suite of a luxurious high-rise overlooking Boston Harbor, Nathan Blackwell stared blankly at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. At 42, he had everything money could buy. CEO of Blackwell Industries, a technology empire valued at billions, with properties scattered across the globe, and his name featured regularly in Fortune magazine. His sharp features, perfectly tailored suits, and confident demeanor had earned him a reputation as one of Boston's most eligible bachelors. But today, none of that mattered. January 15th marked exactly 1 year since the worst day of his life, the day his son disappeared. Thomas had been only 6 when he vanished during a family vacation in Europe. Despite extensive searches, international investigations, and millions spent on private detectives, no trace of him had ever been found. Nathan's phone buzzed insistently on the marble countertop. It was Diana, his executive assistant. "Nathan, the Morgan merger meeting starts in 90 minutes. The board members are already gathering. This is the deal that could double our market value overnight." "I'll be there," he replied mechanically, ending the call before she could hear the tremor in his voice. As he reached for his phone charger, he noticed the battery had died overnight. Perfect. Just perfect. Nothing was going right today. He plugged it in and went to prepare, his movements automatic, his mind elsewhere. The drive to Blackwell Tower normally took 20 minutes, but a massive accident on the main highway forced Nathan to detour. His GPS rerouted him through an unfamiliar part of the city, old industrial areas slowly being reclaimed by developers, but still rough around the edges. "Just what I needed," he muttered, checking his watch nervously. Then, with a sputter and a series of alarming noises, his Aston Martin, a vehicle worth more than most people's homes, simply died. Right there, on a deserted stretch of road with no service stations in sight. Nathan turned the key repeatedly, but the engine wouldn't catch. No, 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 he slammed his hands against the steering wheel. His phone was at 10% battery, barely enough to make a call. But who would he call? His regular driver was off today, and any roadside assistance would take at least an hour to reach this part of town. The merger meeting was in 45 minutes, and it was the most important deal of his career. There was only one option. Nathan grabbed his briefcase, locked the car, and began walking. According to his phone's map, if he cut through several side streets and alleys, he could reach the financial district in about 30 minutes. Barely enough time if he hurried. The say. Wealthy businessman looked completely out of place in this neighborhood, his Italian leather shoes clicking against cracked concrete, his cashmere coat drawing curious glances from the few people on the street. But Nathan didn't care how he looked. For the first time in months, the crushing weight of his son's absence overtook his professional concerns. As he turned down a narrow alley that promised to shave 5 minutes off his journey, the emotions he'd been suppressing all morning finally broke through. Fell alone in this dirty passageway, with no one to witness his moment of weakness. Nathan Blackwell, the titan of industry, the man Forbes had called steel wrapped in silk, began to cry. Silent tears at first, then deep, wrenching sobs that bent him double, forcing him to lean against the graffiti-covered wall for support. He wasn't crying about the car or the meeting. He was crying for Thomas, for his bright eyes and gap-toothed smile, for his infectious laugh and endless questions, for the birthdays that would never be celebrated, the graduations he would never attend, the lifetime of moments stolen from them both. Emma had been watching the strange man since he entered her territory. People in expensive clothes rarely came to this part of town, and when they did, it usually meant trouble. Developers planning to tear down more buildings, police looking to clear out homeless encampments, or social workers searching for runaway children. She had learned to be cautious. But this man was different. He wasn't looking around predatorily or taking notes on a clipboard. He was crying, really crying, like something had broken inside him. Emma knew that kind of crying. She had done plenty of it herself in the months since her mother fell ill. The kind that came from somewhere deep and hurt your chest and didn't care who saw or heard. In her pocket was half a stale bread roll, the only food she had managed to salvage that morning from behind the bakery 3 blocks over. She had been saving it for later, knowing it might be all she would eat today. Her stomach growled in protest, but she had made her decision. Cautiously, she approached the crying man. He didn't notice her at first, lost in his grief. Emma stood, quietly, just a few feet away, waiting to be acknowledged. When he finally looked up and saw her, surprise momentarily replaced his sorrow. "Mister," she said softly, extending her small hand with the bread roll resting on her palm. Her fingernails were dirty, her skin chapped from the cold. "Are you crying because you're hungry too?" Nathan stared at the child before him, this tiny, bedraggled girl offering him her food when she clearly had so little herself. The simple gesture of kindness, so unexpected and pure, momentarily robbed him of speech. "No, I'm not hungry," he finally managed, his voice hoarse. "But thank you. That's very kind of you." Emma didn't withdraw her hand. "You can have it anyway. Sometimes people cry for other reasons, but food still helps." Nathan felt something shift inside him, a small crack in the wall of grief and isolation he had built around himself. Here was this child who clearly had nothing, offering him everything she had. "What's your name?" he asked, carefully wiping his eyes with his monogrammed handkerchief. "Emma," she replied simply. "Emma Carter." "I'm Nathan Blackwell." He glanced at his watch and reality came crashing back. "Emma, I'm actually lost. I need to get to the financial district for a very important meeting, and my car broke down." Emma's face brightened. "I know a shortcut. It's through some small streets that most people don't know about. I can show you." Nathan hesitated. Following a child through unknown alleys seemed questionable at best. But time was running out, and there was something about Emma, a resilience and intelligence in her eyes, that made him trust her. "If you can help me get there in 30 minutes, I'll buy you a proper meal afterward. The best lunch in Boston." "How does that sound?" Emma's eyes widened at the prospect, but she tried to maintain her composure. "I know the way, follow me." And so the unlikely pair set off through the labyrinthine back streets of Boston, the billionaire CEO and the homeless child, bound together by a moment of shared humanity in an otherwise indifferent world. Emma moved with surprising agility through the urban maze, her small form slipping through narrow passages between buildings and leading Nathan down shortcuts that weren't on any map. Despite her size and apparent fragility, she navigated the city with confidence, occasionally glancing back to ensure the tall businessman was keeping pace. "How do you know these routes so well?" Nathan asked, ducking under a low-hanging fire. "Scape." Emma shrugged without breaking stride. "I watch people and I remember things. She didn't elaborate on how necessity had made her memorize every possible path through these streets, routes to find food, to avoid trouble, to escape the authorities who might send her back to foster care. Nathan checked his watch again. They were making good time, better than he had expected. "Do you live around here?" he asked, trying to make conversation while catching his breath. Emma hesitated, her pace faltering slightly. "I stay nearby," she answered vaguely. The careful choice of words wasn't lost on Nathan. This child wasn't simply wandering the streets, she was surviving on them. The realization made his chest tighten. He thought of Thomas, who had never wanted for anything. The best schools, private tutors, exotic vacations, rooms full of toys. And here was this little girl, offering her only food to a stranger, living with such profound deprivation. As they turned onto a wider street, Emma pointed ahead. "See that tall building with the pointy top? That's the edge of the financial district. Your building is probably just a few blocks from there." Nathan was impressed. "You're right. Blackwell Tower is just beyond that." "How did you know?" "The big buildings are where the money people work," she said matter-of-factly. "And you look like you have lots of money." The blunt assessment made Nathan chuckle despite himself. "I suppose I do," he admitted, "though sometimes it doesn't feel like it matters much." Emma gave him a puzzled look. "Money always matters. It buys food and warm places to sleep." The simple truth of her statement sobered him instantly. Of course, money mattered, just not in the ways he had grown accustomed to thinking about it. Not for luxury cars or vacation homes, but for basic survival. They continued in silence for several minutes before Emma spoke again. "Why were you crying back there, if it wasn't because of hunger?" The direct question caught Nathan off guard. In his world of corporate diplomacy and careful negotiations, people rarely ask such straightforward questions about personal matters. "Today is a difficult anniversary," he said finally. "I lost someone very important to me exactly 1 year ago." Emma nodded solemnly. "I understand. My mum got very sick 3 months ago. The doctors say she's in a special sleep called a coma. They don't know if she'll wake up." Nathan felt a wave of sympathy wash over him. "I'm sorry to hear that, Emma. Is that why you're on your own?" She nodded again, her eyes fixed on the sidewalk ahead. "They put me in a foster home, but the lady there was mean and there were too many kids, so I left. I visit Mom at the hospital sometimes when the nice nurse is working. She lets me sit with Mom even though I'm not supposed to be there alone." Each revelation about Emma's life struck Nathan like a physical blow. How could a child be left to fend for herself like this? Where was her father? Other family members? How had the system failed her so completely? "What about your father?" he asked gently. "Never had one," Emma replied with the same matter-of-fact tone she used to discuss money or directions. "Mum said he didn't know about me, that he was a good man who would have stayed if he'd known, but something happened to keep them apart." Before Nathan could respond, Emma pointed ahead. "There, that's your building, right? The one with your name on it." Sure enough, Blackwell Tower loomed before them, a sleek spire of glass and steel dominating the skyline, the company logo prominently displayed at the entrance. They had made it with 15 minutes to spare. "Emma, you're amazing," Nathan said, genuine gratitude in his voice. "You've saved me from a professional disaster today." The girl shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "It was just walking." "No, it was much more than that." Nathan knelt down to her level, heedless of his expensive suit touching the dirty sidewalk. "You helped a stranger when you had no reason to. That's rare and special." Emma looked away, embarrassed. Nathan noticed she was shivering slightly in her threadbare coat. The temperature had dropped even further, and dark clouds threatened snow. "Listen, I have to go into this meeting now, but I meant what I said about lunch. Would you like to wait in the lobby? It's warm in there, and I shouldn't be more than an hour." Hope flickered across Emma's face before caution reasserted itself. "Are you sure it's okay? Fancy places don't usually let me stay. This is my building, Emma. No one will bother you, I promise." Nathan straightened up and reached for her hand without thinking. To his surprise, she took it, her small, cold fingers wrapping around his much larger ones with tentative trust. As in, They approached the grand entrance of Blackwell Tower. Nathan felt a protective instinct he hadn't experienced since Thomas disappeared. This child needed help, and he was in a position to provide it. Perhaps this chance encounter was meant to be a small opportunity to do some good in the world on this painful anniversary. The security guards at the entrance nodded respectfully as Nathan approached, though their eyes lingered curiously on the disheveled child at his side. "Mr. Blackwell, the board is assembled in the main conference room," said the receptionist, her professional smile faltering slightly as she noticed Emma. "Ms. Reynolds asked me to inform you that the Morgan representatives arrived early and are already being entertained." "Thank you, Jennifer. This is Emma. She'll be waiting for me in the lobby while I attend the meeting. Please make sure she's comfortable and not disturbed." If the receptionist found this unusual, she didn't show it. "Of course, sir." Nathan turned to Emma. "I have to go upstairs now, but Jennifer will show you where you can wait. I'll come find you as soon as the meeting is over, and we'll go get that lunch I promised." Emma nodded, though Nathan could see uncertainty in her eyes. "You promise you'll come back?" The question held more weight than its simple words suggested. Nathan suspected that Emma had encountered many broken promises in her young life. "I promise," he said firmly. "1 hour and then lunch. The best lunch in Boston, remember?" A small smile finally broke through Emma's serious expression. "Okay." As Nathan headed for the elevator, he glanced back to see Emma being led to a plush waiting area. Something about the sight of her tiny figure amid the gleaming marble and polished chrome of his corporate headquarters stirred emotions he couldn't quite name. This child had shown him more genuine humanity in their brief encounter than he'd experienced in months of board meetings and business dinners. The elevator doors closed, whisking him upward to the top floor where the future of his company would be decided. But for the first time in a year, Nathan Blackwell's thoughts weren't solely focused on business. Instead, they kept returning to a pair of wise blue eyes and the offer of a piece of bread when he needed kindness more than food. The lobby below, Emma sat perched on the edge of a leather sofa that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her feet didn't reach the floor, and she kept her hands folded carefully in her lap, afraid to touch anything. The warmth of the building was a luxury she hadn't experienced in weeks, and she fought the urge to close her eyes and give in to the comfort. Jennifer, the receptionist, brought her a glass of water and a corporate magazine, which Emma accepted politely. But her eyes kept drifting to the elevator banks, watching the numbers change, wondering if Nathan would really return as promised, or if this was just another disappointment in a life that had already seen too many. Upstairs, Nathan entered the boardroom to find 15 expectant faces turned toward him. Among them was his mother, Victoria Blackwell. Elegant, poised, and formidable at 70. As the founder's widow and major shareholder, she still wielded considerable influence over the company, despite her son's official leadership role. "Nathan, darling, we were beginning to worry," Victoria said, her voice warm but her eyes sharp with disapproval at his tardiness. "Car trouble," he replied briefly, taking his place at the head of the table. "Gentlemen, ladies, shall we begin? We have a merger to discuss." Emma tried to make herself invisible as she sat in the opulent lobby. She had learned that visibility often led to trouble, questions about where her parents were, why she wasn't, in school or worse, calls to social services. So she remained perfectly still, observing the bustling activity of Blackwell Tower with quiet fascination. Men and women in tailored suits strode purposefully across the marble floors. Security guards stood at attention near the entrances. Receptionists answered calls with practiced efficiency. It was a world entirely foreign to Emma, a world of order, prosperity, and security that existed just blocks away from the chaotic struggle of her daily life. After 20 minutes of waiting, Emma's vigilance was rewarded when the elevator doors opened, revealing a striking older woman accompanied by 2 men in dark suits. Unlike the other business people Emma had observed, this woman commanded immediate attention. Her silver hair was styled in an elegant bob, her posture impeccable, her designer outfit immaculate. She carried herself with the absolute certainty of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Emma instinctively shrank further into the sofa, recognizing the aura of authority that surrounded the woman. This was someone who could cause trouble. Victoria, the quarterly reports indicate that the key Asian markets are exceeding projections, one of the men was saying as they crossed the lobby. Excellent. We'll discuss expansion at next month's strategy meeting, the woman replied. For now, let's focus on ensuring the Morgan merger proceeds without... Victoria Blackwell stopped abruptly, her sharp eyes having caught sight of Emma. Her gaze traveled from the child's tangled hair to her worn shoes, taking in every detail of her disheveled appearance. What is this? Victoria's voice cut through the ambient noise of the lobby. Why is there a street child in our reception area? Emma froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. The receptionist who had been kind to her earlier hurried over, clearly flustered. Mrs. Blackwell, Mr. Nathan asked that she wait here. He said, I don't care what my son said, Victoria interrupted coldly. This is a corporate headquarters, not a homeless shelter. Remove her immediately. But ma'am, Mr. Blackwell specifically instructed. Are you questioning me, Jennifer? Victoria's tone made the question sound like a threat. The receptionist paled. No, ma'am, of course not. Victoria turned to one of the security guards. Please escort this child out of the building, and Jennifer will discuss your judgment later. The guard approached Emma, who remained frozen in place, her eyes wide with fear and betrayal. Another broken promise, another adult who couldn't be trusted. Come on, kid, the guard said, not unkindly but firmly. So you need to leave. But Mr. Blackwell told me to wait, Emma protested, her voice small but determined. He promised to take me to lunch when his meeting was over. Victoria laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound entirely devoid of humor. Did he now? And I suppose you just happened to meet my son on the street corner. How convenient. A young woman stepped forward from behind the reception desk. Her name tag identified her as Olivia Chen, Junior Marketing Coordinator. Mrs. Blackwell, perhaps the child is telling the truth. I saw Mr. Blackwell bring her in, himself. Maybe we should call up to the conference room and confirm. Ms. Chen, isn't it? Victoria's voice was dangerously soft. Are you new here? Olivia straightened her shoulders. I've been with Blackwell Industries for 8 months, ma'am. Then allow me to explain how things work. This company maintains certain standards. We don't allow just anyone to loiter in our lobby, especially not individuals who might make our clients uncomfortable. Victoria's gaze flicked dismissively over Emma. And we certainly don't question the judgment of the company's founder and largest shareholder. With respect, Mrs. Blackwell, I'm not questioning your judgment. I'm suggesting we verify Mr. Nathan's instructions before. Your services are no longer required at Blackwell Industries, Miss Chen. Collect your things and leave the premises immediately. A shocked silence fell over the lobby. Olivia's face drained of color, but her expression remained composed. You're firing me for suggesting we call your son. I'm firing you for insubordination and poor judgment. Security will escort you out. Emma watched the scene unfold with a growing sense of horror. Someone was losing their job because of her. She slid off the sofa, intending to leave quietly and spare anyone else Victoria's wrath. I'll go, she said softly. I don't want to cause trouble. Victoria's attention returned to Emma, her eyes cold as winter. At least you have some sense, Johnson. Make sure she leaves the property entirely. Check that nothing is missing afterward. The implication that Emma might be a thief stung more than the dismissal. She had never stolen anything in her life. Scavenged, yes, begged occasionally, but never stolen. As the security guard placed a hand on Emma's shoulder to guide her toward the exit, she noticed Nathan's briefcase sitting on the reception counter, where he must have left it before heading to his meeting. The latch had come undone and several papers were visible. Among them was a photograph that made Emma's heart stop. It was a woman with warm eyes and a gentle smile, a face Emma would recognize anywhere, despite the 3 months that had passed since she'd last seen those eyes open and alert. That's my mum, Emma cried, breaking away from the guard and rushing to the counter. Before anyone could stop her, she had pulled the photograph from the briefcase. The image showed a younger version of her mother, laughing in the sunlight, her hair longer than Emma remembered it. But it was undeniably her, Rachel Carter, who now lay unresponsive in a hospital bed across town. Victoria's face transformed, shock replacing disdain. For a moment, she seemed unable to speak. Then, with surprising speed for a woman her age, she snatched the photograph from Emma's hands. "How dare you touch my son's personal belongings?" Victoria's voice trembled with an emotion Emma couldn't identify, something beyond anger, something that almost resembled fear. "This isn't your mother. This is a private family matter that doesn't concern you." "It is my mom," Emma insisted, tears welling in her eyes. "That's Rachel Carter. She's in the hospital. Why do you have her picture?" Victoria turned to the security guards, her composure recovering quickly. "Remove this child immediately. She's..." Clearly disturbed. Two guards moved forward, one taking Emma firmly by the shoulders while the other blocked her from reaching for the photograph again. "No, please!" Emma struggled against their grip. "That's my mom's picture. Why does Mr. Blackwell have it? Please let me see it again." But her pleas fell on deaf ears as she was half carried, half dragged toward the exit. Olivia Chen, still reeling from her sudden termination, tried to intervene. "This isn't right," she protested. "The child is upset. We should wait for Mr. Blackwell." "You've already lost your job, Miss Chen," Victoria said coldly. "Don't make me call the police as well." As Emma was escorted through the revolving doors and onto the cold sidewalk, she saw Victoria Blackwell tuck the photograph into her designer handbag, her face set in grim determination. The security guards were not cruel, but they were firm in ensuring Emma left the property. One of them, a younger man with kind eyes, pressed a $5 bill into her hand. "Get yourself something to eat, kid," he murmured. "And maybe don't come back here. Mrs. Blackwell has a long memory." Emma stood on the sidewalk, tears streaming. Down her face, the money clutched in her fist. The betrayal of being thrown out stung, but it was nothing compared to the confusion and hurt of seeing her mother's photograph in Nathan Blackwell's briefcase. Why would a billionaire CEO have a picture of her mother? Had he known Rachel before? Was he somehow connected to the mysterious father Emma had never met? And why had Victoria Blackwell reacted so strongly to Emma recognizing the woman in the photo? Inside Blackwell Tower, the meeting was drawing to a successful conclusion. Nathan Blackwell shook hands with the Morgan representatives, having negotiated terms even more favorable than anticipated. The merger would proceed, propelling Blackwell Industries to new heights and securing Nathan's legacy as a business visionary. "Excellent work, son," Victoria said, her hand resting possessively on Nathan's arm as the Morgan team filed out. "Your father would have been proud." Nathan nodded, accepting the rare compliment, though his thoughts had already turned to Emma waiting in the lobby. Strange how a brief encounter with a child he barely knew had become so important to him on this difficult day. "I need to go," he said, gathering his papers. "I made a promise to someone." Victoria's grip on his arm tightened. "If you're referring to that street urchin who was loitering in our lobby, I've had security remove her." "Really, Nathan, what were you thinking, bringing someone like that into Blackwell Tower? The Morgan team could have seen her." Nathan stared at his mother in disbelief. "You did what?" "I protected our company's image as I've always done," Victoria replied calmly. "The child was clearly trying to scam you. These professional beggars are getting more creative every day." "She wasn't begging, Mother. She helped me get here when my car broke down. I promised her lunch in return." Nathan's voice rose with anger. "Where is she now?" Victoria waved a dismissive hand. "Back on the streets where she belongs, I imagine." "Forget about her, Nathan. We have more important matters to discuss. The success of this merger calls for a celebration." But Nathan was already heading for the door, fury building with each step. "Her name is Emma Carter," he said over his shoulder. "And she has more integrity than half the people in this building." Victoria's face hardened at the name Carter. "Nathan, wait. We need to talk about..." But Nathan was already gone, rushing toward the elevators, hoping he wasn't too late to find Emma and make things right. Nathan burst into the lobby, his eyes scanning the space for any sign of Emma. Finding only curious stares from employees, he approached the reception desk where Jennifer stood nervously, clearly anticipating his reaction. "Where is she?" he demanded, his usual composed demeanor nowhere to be found. Jennifer glanced anxiously toward Victoria's office. "Mrs. Blackwell had security escort her out, sir. About 20 minutes ago." "And you allowed this to happen?" "After I specifically instructed." "Your mother also fired Olivia Chen for trying to defend the child," Jennifer interrupted, lowering her voice. "There was nothing any of us could do." Nathan's jaw clenched. This was exactly why he had distanced himself from his mother's involvement in the company over the past few years. Victoria Blackwell still operated with the ruthless efficiency that had helped build the corporation in its early days, heedless of the human cost. "Where's Ms. Chen now?" "Probably still clearing out her desk on the 14th floor. Call HR and have her reinstated immediately. Full pay, no record of this incident." Nathan was already heading for the exit. "And Jennifer, if my mother questions this decision, tell her to speak with me directly." Outside, the temperature had dropped further, and light snow was beginning to fall. Nathan stood on the steps of Blackwell Tower, turning in a slow circle as he scanned the busy sidewalks. Where would a homeless child go in such weather? How far could she have gotten in 20 minutes? He spotted Olivia Chen exiting the building, a cardboard box containing her belongings clutched against her chest. Her expression was one of stunned disbelief, the kind that comes with having one's life upended without warning. "Ms. Chen," Nathan called, approaching her quickly. "I've instructed HR to reinstate you. What happened was unacceptable." Olivia blinked in surprise. "Mr. Blackwell, thank you, but I'm more concerned about the little girl. She was very upset when they took her out." "Did you see which way she went?" Olivia nodded. "She headed east toward the park. She was crying." She hesitated, then added, "Mr. Blackwell, there's something else you should know. The child recognized a photograph in your briefcase. She claimed it was of her mother." Nathan felt as though the ground had shifted beneath his feet. "What photograph?" "I couldn't see it clearly. Your mother took it from her quite forcefully. The girl kept calling the woman in the photo Rachel Carter. She said her mother was in the hospital." Rachel Carter. The name hit Nathan like a physical blow. Rachel, the woman he had loved desperately 12 years ago, whom he had planned to marry before she inexplicably disappeared from his life. Rachel, whose memory still haunted him, whose abandonment had left wounds that never fully healed. How old did the girl say she was? Nathan asked, though he already suspected the answer. She didn't say, but she looked about 7, maybe 8. 7 years old. The timing aligned perfectly with Rachel's disappearance. Could it be possible? Could Emma be... "Thank you, Miss Chen. Please return to your position. I need to find her." Nathan set off toward the park, moving with purpose. If Emma was indeed Rachel's daughter, and possibly his daughter as well, then his mother had a lot to explain. Victoria had never approved of Rachel, had considered her unworthy of the Blackwell name. But to potentially separate them, to hide the existence of his own child, the implications were staggering, but Nathan pushed them aside. Finding Emma was his priority. Everything else could wait. The small urban park was nearly deserted due to the weather, making it easier to spot the lone child huddled on a bench near the frozen fountain. Emma sat with her knees drawn up to her chest, her thin coat providing little protection against the snow that now fell steadily around her. Nathan approached slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "Emma." She looked up, her expression hardening, when she recognized him. "You lied," she said simply, "just like everyone else." The accusation stung because it was partially true. He had promised to protect her, to return for her, and had failed on both counts. "I didn't lie, Emma. I didn't know my mother would do that. I'm sorry." Emma studied his face, searching for deception. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her, because some of the tension left her small body. "Why do you have a picture of my mum?" Nathan sat beside her on the bench, maintaining a respectful distance. "I knew your mother a long time ago. We were very close." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Emma, is your mother's name Rachel Carter?" She nodded, surprise evident in her eyes. She's at Massachusetts General Hospital. She's been asleep for 3 months. The doctors call it a coma. Nathan felt a wave of conflicting emotions. Shock that Rachel was here in Boston all this time, grief that she was ill, and a desperate need to see her. What happened to her? She got really sick one day. She had a headache and then she fell down and wouldn't wake up. The doctors say something burst in her brain. They did surgery, but she still didn't wake up. Emma's voice was small but steady, reciting the facts with the direct simplicity of a child. "And you've been on your own since then?" Nathan asked, his heart breaking for this child, possibly his child, who had endured so much. Emma nodded again. "The foster lady was mean. She hit kids and didn't give us enough food, so I left. I know how to take care of myself." The matter-of-fact courage in her statement made Nathan's throat tighten. "You shouldn't have to take care of yourself, Emma. You're just a child," she shrugged. "Lots of kids have it worse." Nathan took a deep breath. "Emma, I'd like to help you if you'll let me, and I'd like to visit your mother. Would that be okay?" Suspicion returned to her eyes. "Why? Why do you care about us?" The question deserved honesty. "Because I loved your mother very much once, and because—" Nathan hesitated, then decided that speculation without confirmation would only confuse her. "Because no child should be alone on the streets, especially not one as brave and kind as you." Emma considered this for a long moment, shivering as the snow fell more heavily around them. Finally, she nodded. "Okay. But I'm still mad that your mom took Mom's picture." "So am I," Nathan assured her, "and I promise you we'll get it back." He stood and extended his hand. "First, let's get you somewhere warm, and I still owe you that lunch, don't I?" Emma looked at his outstretched hand, then placed her small, cold fingers in his. "The best lunch in Boston," she reminded him, solemnly. "Absolutely, but first, I think we need to get you some warmer clothes. Would that be all right?" Emma's eyes widened slightly. "New clothes? Really? Really? And then lunch? And then we'll go see your mom together. How does that sound?" For the first time since their meeting that morning, a genuine smile transformed Emma's face, revealing a dimple in her left cheek that was achingly familiar. Nathan had seen that same dimple in Rachel's smile countless times. "That sounds good," Emma said, her voice suddenly shy. They walked hand in hand through the snow, toward a future neither could have imagined when they woke that morning. Nathan felt a strange sense of rightness, as though pieces of a puzzle were finally falling into place. There were still many questions to be answered, difficult conversations to be had, but for now it was enough to have found Emma, this remarkable child who had offered him kindness when he needed it most. Their first stop was an upscale children's boutique just a few blocks from the park. The saleswoman's eyes widened slightly at the sight of Nathan Blackwell, whose face occasionally appeared in the business section of newspapers, accompanied by a clearly homeless child, but she was professional enough to hide her surprise quickly. "We need a complete winter wardrobe for Miss Emma," Nathan explained. "Coat, boots, everything." While the saleswoman gathered items, Nathan knelt beside Emma. "Pick anything you like, don't worry about the cost." Emma wandered through the store, touching fabrics with wonder, clearly overwhelmed by the choices. Eventually, she selected a practical blue coat with a fur-lined hood, sturdy boots, warm leggings, and a red sweater dress. When she emerged from the fitting room in her new outfit, she looked like a different child, still thin, still solemn-eyed, but no longer marked by visible poverty. The store owner, recognizing an opportunity for extraordinary customer service, offered the use of their employee bathroom so Emma could wash up properly. When she returned, face scrubbed clean, hair combed with a new brush, Nathan was struck by her transformation. Without the dirt and tangles, Emma's resemblance to Rachel was even more pronounced. The same heart-shaped face, the same determined chin. And there was something else, something he hadn't noticed before. Emma's eyes, though blue like Rachel's, had the distinctive Blackwell shape, slightly upturned at the corners just like his own, just like his father's. "You look very nice," he told her, emotion making his voice rougher than intended. Emma glanced down at her new clothes, running a hand over the soft fabric of her coat. "Thank you," she whispered, clearly unused to such kindness. As they left the store, bags of additional clothing in hand, Nathan directed them toward Bertolini's, an elegant Italian restaurant nearby. He had promised Emma the best lunch in Boston, and he intended to deliver. The maitre d' recognized Nathan immediately, ushering them to a private table by the window, despite their lack of reservations. Emma sat stiffly in the plush chair, clearly intimidated by the fancy surroundings and watchful of the other diners' reactions to her presence. "You can order anything you like," Nathan told her, opening the menu. "What's your favorite food?" Emma hesitated. "I like spaghetti," she admitted. "Mom used to make it on special days." The mention of Rachel sent another pang through Nathan's heart. "Spaghetti it is. Bertolini's makes the best in the city." As they waited for their food, Nathan gently asked Emma more about her life with Rachel, trying to piece together the past 12 years. Each detail was precious, filling in a blank space in a story he hadn't known was his to read. "Emma," he said finally, when their pasta had arrived and Emma was carefully twirling spaghetti around her fork, "there's something I need to ask you. Did your mother ever mention who your father was?" Emma looked up, sauce smudged adorably on her chin. "She said he was a good man who didn't know about me. She said something kept them apart, but that if he'd known, he would have wanted me." She paused, studying Nathan's face with unexpected perception. "Do you think you're my dad?" The directness of the question, so typical of Emma, made Nathan smile despite the seriousness of the moment. "I think it's possible," he admitted. "Your mother and I were very much in love once. Then suddenly, she was gone, with no explanation. I never knew why until now." "Is that why you were sad today?" Emma asked. "Because of Mom?" Nathan shook his head. "No, I was sad because I thought I'd lost someone else, someone important." He didn't mention Thomas, the fictional son his mother had invented to manipulate him. That conversation could wait. Emma nodded, as though this made perfect sense. "If you are my dad," she said carefully, "would that be okay? Would you want me?" The vulnerability in her question broke something open inside Nathan. "Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "having you as my daughter would be the greatest gift I could ever receive." After lunch, Nathan and Emma made their way to Massachusetts General Hospital. Nathan felt a growing nervousness with each step toward the facility's imposing entrance. After 12 years, he was about to see Rachel again. Not as he had imagined in countless scenarios over the years, but unconscious, vulnerable, fighting for her life. And beside him walked their daughter, a child whose existence he hadn't known about until today, a living embodiment of their love that had somehow survived despite everything that had torn them apart. "Mom's on the 4th floor," Emma said as they entered the hospital, "in the special sleeping people section." "The neurology ward," Nathan clarified gently. Emma nodded, taking his hand as though it were the most natural thing in the world. The simple gesture of trust touched Nathan deeply. At the reception desk, they were met with immediate resistance. "I'm sorry, sir, but visits to coma patients are restricted to immediate family members only," the nurse explained, eyeing Nathan suspiciously. "This is Emma Carter, Rachel Carter's daughter," Nathan replied. "And He hesitated, unsure how to identify himself. "Friend? Ex-boyfriend? Potentially the father of Rachel's child." "He's my dad," Emma said firmly, squeezing his hand. The conviction in her voice made Nathan's heart swell. The nurse's expression softened as she looked at Emma. "You're Rachel's little girl? The one who sneaks in sometimes with Nurse Patel?" Emma nodded, a hint of guilt crossing her face. "Well, that explains a few things," the nurse said with a small smile. "Rachel's lucky to have such a devoted daughter." She turned to Nathan. "Are you listed on any of Ms. Carter's paperwork?" "I don't recall seeing a father mentioned." "No, I'm not. It's complicated. But I can provide identification and would be happy to speak with her doctor." The nurse considered this, then nodded. "Let me call Dr. Wilson. He's been overseeing Ms. Carter's case." While they waited, Emma led Nathan to a small seating area nearby. The doctors say Mom might be able to hear us even though she can't answer, she explained seriously. So I always tell her about my day when I visit. Maybe you could talk to her too. I'd like that very much, Nathan replied, wondering what he could possibly say to Rachel after all this time. How do you condense 12 years of absence, of questions and hurt and lingering love, into words that might penetrate the veil of a coma? Dr. Wilson arrived shortly, a tall, grey-haired man with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I understand you're claiming to be related to Rachel Carter, he asked, getting straight to the point. Not exactly, Nathan admitted. I'm Nathan Blackwell. Rachel and I were in a relationship 12 years ago. I believe I may be Emma's father, though I only met her today. It's a complicated situation. Recognition flickered in the doctor's eyes at the Blackwell name. I see. Well, Ms. Carter's condition remains stable but unchanged. She suffered a cerebral aneurysm 3 months ago. The surgery was successful in repairing the damaged blood vessel, but she hasn't regained consciousness. What's her prognosis? Nathan asked, dreading the answer. Dr. Wilson glanced at Emma, clearly measuring his words. There are encouraging signs. Her brain activity is strong, and she's breathing on her own. These are positive indicators. However, with coma patients, recovery is unpredictable. It could be days, months, or never, Emma finished quietly, her eyes fixed on her new boots. The doctor placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Your mother is fighting very hard, Emma, and now she has both you and Mr. Blackwell in her corner. That matters. After further discussion, Dr. Wilson agreed to allow Nathan to visit Rachel alongside Emma, with the understanding that a more formal determination of his relationship to the family would need to be established if he wished to continue visits. As they entered Rachel's room, Nathan felt his breath catch in his throat. There she was, thinner than he remembered, her once vibrant features now still but unmistakably Rachel. Her dark hair was spread across the pillow, her chest rising and falling with steady breaths that belied her unresponsive state. Emma approached the bed with practiced familiarity, taking her mother's limp hand. Hi, Mom, I brought someone special today. Remember how you always told me my dad was a good man who didn't know about me? Well, I found him. Or maybe he found me. His name is Nathan. Nathan moved to the opposite side of the bed, his legs unsteady. Carefully, he reached out and touched Rachel's hand. The first contact between them in 12 years. Her skin was warm, soft, achingly familiar. Hello, Rachel, he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. It's been a long time. I just met Emma today. She's amazing. You did an incredible job raising her. He paused, overwhelmed. I don't know if you can hear me, but I want you to know that I never stopped thinking about you. Not for a single day. They stayed for an hour, Emma chattering about her new clothes and the spaghetti at lunch, Nathan occasionally adding comments, both of them watching Rachel's face for any sign of response, no matter how small. There was none, but the machines monitoring her vital signs showed slightly elevated activity, which Dr. Wilson assured them was a positive sign. As they prepared to leave, Nathan made arrangements with the hospital administration to cover all, to have Rachel's medical expenses, and to transfer her to a private room with the best possible care. What happens now? Emma asked, as they exited the hospital into the early evening darkness. Snow was falling more heavily, blanketing the city in white silence. Nathan looked down at her solemn face, struck again by how quickly and completely this child had claimed a place in his heart. Now, we find out the truth, and then we make a plan, together. Their next stop was the Blackwell estate, a sprawling mansion in Beacon Hill that had been in the family for generations. Nathan had his own penthouse downtown, preferring independence from his mother's controlling presence, but he knew Victoria would retreat to the family home after the day's events. As Nathan's car pulled through the ornate gates, Emma pressed, her face against the window, eyes wide at the grandeur before her. You live here? I grew up here, Nathan corrected, but I have my own place now. This is my mother's house. Emma's expression grew wary. The mean lady from your building? Yes. And I think it's time she and I had a very serious conversation. Nathan turned to face Emma. Would you be okay waiting with Mrs. Peterson, our housekeeper? She's very kind and she makes the best hot chocolate in Boston. Though clearly apprehensive, Emma nodded. Are you going to get my mum's picture back? That and much more, Nathan promised. Upon entering the mansion, they were greeted by Mrs. Peterson, a plump, motherly woman who had managed the Blackwell household for decades. If she was surprised by Emma's presence, she hid it well, immediately offering warmth and comfort in the form of hot chocolate and freshly baked cookies in the kitchen, while Nathan confronted his mother in her study. Victoria Blackwell sat behind, an antique desk, a glass of scotch in her hand, her posture as regal and unyielding as ever. She showed no surprise at Nathan's entrance, as though she had been expecting this confrontation all day. I assume you found your little street urchin, she said by way of greeting. Her name is Emma Carter, Nathan replied coldly. She's 7 years old. Her mother is Rachel Carter, who is currently in a coma at Mass General, and I have reason to believe she's my daughter. Victoria's expression remained impassive, but her knuckles whitened around her glass. Don't be ridiculous, Nathan. You have no children. No? Then perhaps you can explain why you've spent the past year having me mourn a son who never existed. Why you fabricated an entire story about Thomas disappearing during our trip to Europe. Why you've manipulated me with a grief that was based on a complete lie. For the first time, Victoria's composure faltered. I did what was necessary to protect you, to protect the family name. From what? From whom? From Rachel, a woman I loved who apparently carried my child. Nathan's voice rose despite his efforts to control it. I want the truth, Mother. All of it. Now. Victoria set down her glass and stood, moving to the window that overlooked the snow-covered gardens. For a long moment she was silent, gathering her thoughts, or perhaps calculating how much to reveal. Rachel Carter was never good enough for you, she finally said, her voice hard. A scholarship student with no family connections, no social standing, she would have ruined your future, dragged down the Blackwell name. That wasn't your decision to make, Nathan countered. I loved her. I wanted to marry her. You were young and foolish. You didn't understand what was at stake. Victoria turned to face him. When she came to me, claiming to be pregnant, I saw it for what it was, a trap, a scheme to secure the Blackwell fortune. Nathan felt as though he'd been struck. She came to you before she disappeared? Victoria nodded. She had the audacity to come to this house to announce that she was carrying your child. I made her an offer, a substantial amount of money to disappear, to terminate the pregnancy, to never contact you again. And she refused, Nathan guessed, knowing Rachel's fierce independence. She did, quite vehemently. A flicker of something like respect crossed Victoria's face. So I was forced to take more decisive action. What did you do? Nathan's voice was dangerously quiet. I told her you were already engaged to Elise Huntington, that you had been seeing her throughout your relationship with Rachel, that the pregnancy was an embarrassment you wanted handled quietly. Victoria's tone was matter-of-fact, as though discussing a business transaction rather than the destruction of lives. You lied to her, made her believe I had betrayed her. Nathan felt sick with the realization of how deeply Rachel must have been hurt, how completely betrayed she must have felt. She left Boston that same day. I had her followed, of course. She moved to Chicago, had the child, worked menial jobs to support herself. Victoria's lip curled in distaste. Apparently, she returned to Boston about a year ago. I was surprised when I recognized her in your briefcase photo today. The photograph you stole from Emma. Nathan held out his hand. I want it back, now. Victoria hesitated, then retrieved her handbag from the desk, removing the worn photograph, and placing it in Nathan's palm. You kept this all these years. You never truly forgot her. No, I didn't. Nathan stared at the image. Rachel at 22, laughing in the sunlight on the day they had sailed along the coast. But that still doesn't explain Thomas. Why invent a son who disappeared? Why put me through that kind of pain? Victoria reclaimed her seat, suddenly looking every one of her 70 years. After your father died, you became reckless, taking the company in new directions, refusing suitable marriages, turning down political connections that could have advanced our interests. I needed to ground you, to give you something that would make you focus on legacy, on family preservation. So, you invented a tragedy. Nathan's voice shook with fury. You made me believe I had lost a child. I created a narrative that would make you a more responsible leader, Victoria corrected. And it worked. This past year, you've tripled company profits, secured international partnerships, positioned Blackwell Industries for generations of success. At what cost? Do you have any idea what that grief did to me? How it hollowed me out? Made me question everything? Nathan paced the room, struggling to contain his rage. And all this time my actual daughter was living on the streets, hungry and alone, while her mother lay unconscious in a hospital bed. Victoria's expression hardened. If Rachel had accepted my offer, if you hadn't interfered in my life, in my choices, none of this would have happened. Nathan slammed his fist on the desk, making the crystal decanter jump. Rachel would have been my wife. Emma would have been raised as a Blackwell. We would have been a family. A small sound from the doorway made them both turn. Emma stood there, a half-empty mug of hot chocolate clutched in her hands, her eyes wide with shock and confusion. Emma, Nathan said softly, his anger immediately giving way to concern. How long have you been standing there? You really are. My dad? She asked, her voice small. For real? And she... Emma's gaze shifted to Victoria. She kept us apart. She's why Mom was always sad. Nathan crossed the room and knelt before Emma. It seems that way, but we're going to fix this now. Together. Emma looked past him to Victoria, her young face suddenly showing a maturity beyond her years. You're not a very nice grandma, she said simply. The blunt assessment, so characteristic of Emma's straightforward nature, startled a laugh from Nathan despite the tension. Victoria, however, remained stone-faced, her eyes cold as they assessed this unexpected descendant. Children should be seen and not heard, she said dismissively. Another failing in your upbringing, no doubt. Nathan stood, placing a protective hand on Emma's shoulder. That's enough, Mother. Emma is my daughter, your granddaughter, whether you approve or not. And from now on, we're going to do things very differently in this family. He turned to Emma. Let's go home, my home. I think it's been a long enough day for both of us. As they walked out of Victoria's study, Emma slipped her small hand into Nathan's, looking up at him with cautious hope. Are you really going to let me stay with you? Not just stay, Nathan corrected gently. Live. You're going to live with me, Emma. You're my daughter, and your home is with me now. For the first time that day, Emma's serious expression gave way to a brilliant smile that transformed her entire face. And we'll visit Mom every day, and be there when she wakes up? Every single day, Nathan promised. We'll face whatever comes next together. Behind them, Victoria, Blackwell remained alone in her study, watching her son and previously unknown granddaughter walk away, taking with them the web of control she had spent decades weaving. For the first time in her life, she faced the possibility that her carefully orchestrated manipulations might finally have consequences she couldn't manage. The following weeks brought changes more rapid and profound than either Nathan or Emma could have imagined. A DNA test confirmed what their hearts already knew. Emma was indeed Nathan's biological daughter. With this scientific validation, Nathan immediately began legal proceedings to establish full parental rights. His penthouse, once a sleek monument to bachelor success, transformed overnight. The spare bedroom, previously used as a home office, became Emma's domain, painted a cheerful yellow at her shy request, filled with books, toys, and furniture chosen during weekend shopping trips that became their special ritual. For Emma, the transition from street survival to life as a Blackwell hair was both wondrous and overwhelming. Simple luxuries, a warm bed, regular meals, hot showers, new clothes, sometimes brought her to tears. More than once Nathan found her hoarding food in her dresser drawers, a habit born of never knowing when her next meal would come. "You don't need to save food anymore, Emma," he gently explained, finding a stash of dinner rolls and apples. "There will always be plenty to eat here. I promise." She nodded, but the habit took time to break, a reminder of the scars her young life had already accumulated. Each discovery of Emma's adaptations to hardship broke Nathan's heart anew and strengthened his resolve to heal the damage his mother's machinations had caused. Victoria remained conspicuously absent from their lives. After their confrontation, she had retreated to the Blackwell villa in the south of France, ostensibly for health reasons. Nathan made no effort to contact her, his anger still too raw, the betrayal too profound to contemplate forgiveness. Instead, he focused on building a relationship with his daughter and doing everything in his power to support Rachel's recovery. He hired the country's leading neurologists as consultants, researched experimental treatments, and arranged for the most advanced care available. Every evening after work, Nathan and Emma would visit Rachel together. They established a routine. Emma would recount her day at the private school where she had recently enrolled, showing her mother artwork or tests she was proud of, while Nathan read aloud from Rachel's favorite books, which Emma had shyly identified. One evening, as February turned to March and the first hints of spring began to soften Boston's frozen landscape, they sat together in Rachel's hospital room, the beeping of monitors a familiar background rhythm to their visit. "Dad," Emma said, the word still new and precious to both of them, "do you think Mom knows we're here, that we found each other?" Nathan looked at Rachel's still form, remembering the vibrant, passionate woman who had captured his heart 12 years ago. "I believe she does," he said softly. "The doctors say her brain shows more activity during our visits. I think on some level she hears us." Emma nodded, satisfied with this answer. She carefully placed a handmade card on Rachel's bedside table, adding to the growing collection of drawings and notes she brought each visit. "I told my new friend Zoe about Mom," she said. "She said her grandpa was asleep like this once and he woke up after 3 months, so Mom's just taking longer because she's extra tired." Nathan smiled at his daughter's simple wisdom. That's a good way to think about it. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Wilson appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Blackwell, could I have a word? We've received the results from the latest tests." Nathan's heart raced. "Emma, can you wait with Nurse Patel for a minute while I talk to Dr. Wilson?" Once Emma was safely out of earshot, Dr. Wilson's expression grew cautiously optimistic. "We're seeing significant improvements in Miss Carter's neural activity. The new medication protocol appears to be having a positive effect." "What does that mean, exactly?" Nathan asked, hardly daring to hope. "It means she's moving closer to consciousness. There are no guarantees with coma patients, as you know, but these are very encouraging signs. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more overt responses. Soon, perhaps eye movement, finger twitches, even vocalization." Nathan gripped the doctor's hand. "Thank you for everything." "Your daughter's daily visits have been as powerful as any medicine we could administer," Dr. Wilson replied. "And now, with your presence as well, never underestimate the power of voices from loved ones." That night, as Nathan tucked Emma into bed, a ritual that still felt miraculous in its ordinary intimacy, she asked the question that had clearly been on her mind. "What happens if Mum wakes up? Will we all live together?" Nathan sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. "I don't know exactly what will happen, Emma. Your mum and I have been apart for a very long time. But I promise you this. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together as a family. You won't ever have to choose between us." Emma seemed to consider this, her small face serious in the glow of her bedside. "Lamp, I think Mom still loves you," she declared with a child's certainty. "She kept your picture in her special box, and sometimes I caught her looking at it when she thought I was asleep." The revelation sent a surge of emotion through Nathan. Rachel had kept his photograph, just as he had kept hers. Perhaps some connections truly couldn't be severed, no matter the time or distance between them. "Get some sleep now," he said, kissing Emma's forehead. "Tomorrow's a big day." The next morning brought news that shocked the Boston business world. Nathan Blackwell announced a major restructuring of Blackwell Industries. He would step down as CEO, taking the role of chairman instead, a position that would allow him more time with his newly discovered daughter while maintaining strategic oversight of the company. More surprising still was his appointment of Olivia Chen, the junior marketing coordinator who had stood up for Emma, as the new chief marketing officer, leapfrogging her over several more senior executives. Ms. Chen demonstrated the kind of integrity and moral courage that exemplifies the values Blackwell Industries will embrace moving forward, Nathan explained at the press conference. Our company will no longer measure success solely by profit margins, but by the positive impact we have on our employees, our community, and our world. The business press buzzed with speculation about this dramatic shift in corporate philosophy, but Nathan paid little attention to the commentary. His priorities had undergone a fundamental realignment since the day Emma had offered him her last piece of bread. As spring fully blossomed across Boston, bringing warmth and renewal to the city, Nathan established the Rachel Carter Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting homeless children and families in crisis. Using his considerable resources and business connections, he created programs providing emergency housing, educational support, and medical care to those who had fallen through society's cracks, as Emma nearly had. For her part, Emma thrived under Nathan's care. The initial wariness that had marked her behavior began to fade, replaced by a cautious blooming of her natural curiosity and intelligence. Her teachers reported remarkable progress as she caught up on the education she had missed, and slowly, she began to make friends among her classmates. Yet despite these positive developments, a shadow hung over their newfound happiness. Rachel remained unresponsive, though the doctors continued to report encouraging signs of increased brain activity, until one rainy April afternoon, when everything changed. Nathan and Emma had arrived for their daily visit, shaking off umbrellas and raincoats as they entered Rachel's private room. As always, Emma immediately began chattering to her mother, describing a science project she had completed that day. And then the volcano actually erupted, Mum, with real bubbles and everything. My partner Jake got scared and knocked it over, but Ms. Rivera said ours was still the best in the class. Dad helped me build it, but I did all the painting myself. Nathan stood by the window watching his daughter with a fullness in his heart that still surprised him daily. The sound of steady rain against the glass created a peaceful backdrop to Emma's animated storytelling. Dad says we can go to the aquarium this weekend if it stops raining, Emma continued, holding her mother's limp hand. Remember when we went there on my birthday last year? And that big turtle swam right up to the glass where I was standing. Dad says that turtle probably thought my hair looked like seaweed. Nathan smiled at Emma's seamless integration of her past with Rachel and her present with him, as though the family connection had always existed, perhaps in the ways that truly mattered it had. You should see our apartment, Mom, Emma went on. Dad let me decorate my whole room however I wanted. It's yellow because I remembered you said that was the happiest color. And guess what? Mrs. Peterson from the big house taught me how to make your special pancakes with the cinnamon inside. Dad says they're even better than the fancy restaurant ones, but I think he's just being nice because... Emma's steady stream of chatter stopped abruptly. She was staring at her mother's hand, her eyes wide with disbelief. Dad, she whispered, her voice trembling. Dad, Mom! Squeezed my hand. She squeezed it. Nathan was at the bedside in an instant, his heart pounding. Are you sure, Emma? It wasn't just a reflex. No, I was telling her about the pancakes and she squeezed my hand. Do it again, Mom. Please. Nathan reached for the call button, alerting the medical staff. Rachel, he said, his voice low and urgent. Rachel, if you can hear us, try to squeeze Emma's hand again. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, unmistakably, Rachel's fingers curled around Emma's small hand, a weak movement, but deliberate. Emma let out a sound between a sob and a laugh. She did it. She heard us. Dr. Wilson and two nurses rushed into the room. What happened? She squeezed Emma's hand. Twice. Nathan could barely get the words out, emotion threatening to overwhelm him. The medical team immediately began assessment procedures, checking Rachel's vital signs and responses. To everyone's amazement, when Dr. Wilson asked Rachel to blink, if she could hear him, her eyelids fluttered weakly. "This is very promising," Dr. Wilson said, his professional demeanor barely containing his excitement. "These are clear signs of emerging consciousness. She's finding her way back." Over the next several hours, Rachel showed more signs of awareness. Another hand squeeze, eye movement that seemed to follow Emma's voice, and finally, as evening approached, her eyes opened briefly before closing again, the effort clearly exhausting. Emma refused to leave her mother's side, even as night fell. Nathan arranged for a cot to be brought into the room so they could both stay, neither willing to miss any moment of Rachel's gradual return to consciousness. In the quiet darkness of the hospital room, Emma finally fell asleep, curled up on her cot with her hand still stretched out to touch her mother's bed. Nathan sat in the chair between them, keeping vigil, his mind filled with memories of Rachel and hopes for their future. Around midnight, as he was drifting into an exhausted doze, a faint sound brought him instantly alert. "Nate!" The voice was barely a whisper, raspy from months of disuse, but unmistakably Rachel's. Nathan leaned forward, hardly daring to believe what he'd heard. Rachel's eyes were open, disoriented, but aware, focusing on his face with effort. "Nathan?" she whispered. "Again, I'm here," he said, gently taking her hand. "I'm right here, Rachel." Her eyes moved to the sleeping form of their daughter. "Emma," she breathed, a tear sliding down her cheek. "You found her." "She found me, actually," Nathan corrected softly. "She's incredible, Rachel. So brave, so kind. Just like her mother." Rachel's eyes held confusion, questions, but also an overwhelming relief. "How?" "It's a long story," Nathan said, brushing a strand of hair from her face with tender care. "One I'll tell you properly when you're stronger, but the short version is that your daughter offered me her last piece of bread when she saw me crying, and in doing so, she changed everything." Rachel's lips curved in a faint smile, her eyes drifting closed again as exhaustion claimed her, but her fingers remained curled around Nathan's, maintaining the connection they had lost for so long. Nathan sat motionless, watching the two, people who had become his world, his daughter sleeping peacefully and Rachel finally returned from the darkness that had claimed her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Outside the hospital window, the rain had stopped. The clouds parted to reveal a sky full of stars, countless points of light in the darkness, each one a promise of hope, of possibility, of new beginnings born from the simple act of compassion that had brought them all together. 3 months later, on a perfect summer day, Rachel stood on the balcony of Nathan's penthouse, now their shared home, watching Emma splash in, the rooftop pool with friends from her school. Her recovery had been remarkable, though she still tired easily and required physical therapy to regain her full strength. Nathan joined her at the railing, wrapping an arm around her still thin shoulders. "Penny, for your thoughts," Rachel smiled, leaning into his embrace. "I was just thinking about how impossible this all seems. A year ago, I was working 2 jobs, barely keeping a roof over our heads, then the aneurysm, and now this." She gestured at the luxurious surroundings, at Emma's joyful play, at the ring that now sparkled on her finger, a promise of a wedding to come when she was fully recovered. "Do you regret any of it?" Nathan asked softly. "All those years we lost?" Rachel considered the question, watching Emma execute a perfect cannonball into the pool. "I regret believing the lies your mother told me. I regret not trying harder to find the truth." She turned to face him. "But I don't regret a single day with Emma, even the hardest ones. She made everything worthwhile." Nathan nodded, understanding completely. In the months since Rachel's awakening, they had gradually rebuilt their relationship, healing old wounds, learning who they had become in their years apart, and discovering that the core of what had connected them remained unbroken. Victoria Blackwell remained in France, maintaining her distance from the family she had tried so hard to control. Nathan had not severed ties completely, allowing her occasional video calls with Emma, who approached her newfound grandmother with cautious courtesy, but the damage she had caused would take years, perhaps a lifetime, to fully repair. Emma, Asked me something interesting this morning, Rachel said, changing the subject. She wanted to know if hungry people cry differently than sad people. Nathan smiled, remembering that pivotal moment in the alley. What did you tell her? I told her that hunger and sadness often look the same from the outside, but that the most special people, people like her, can see past appearances to what others really need. From the pool, Emma waved at them, her face alight with the simple joy of being a child with friends, with family, with security. "Mum! Dad! Watch this!" she called, before performing an elaborate underwater handstand, her small legs kicking triumphantly in the air. Nathan and Rachel applauded appreciatively, their hands finding each other and fingers intertwining. Gesture that had become natural again, as though the years of separation had been merely a pause in their shared story, rather than an ending. She asked me something else too, Rachel added, her expression growing more serious. She asked if I remembered hearing her talking to me while I was asleep. Did you? Nathan asked, curious. The doctors had been divided on how much Rachel might have perceived during her coma. Rachel nodded slowly. Not everything. But I remember, her voice like a thread I could follow back. And yours too after a while. You were reading Pride and Prejudice. Your favorite, Nathan confirmed. Emma told me. She knows me so well. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. All those months alone she never gave up on me. And then she found you against impossible odds. Or I found her, Nathan corrected. Or perhaps we found each other, exactly when we needed to. Below them, Emma climbed out of the pool, wrapping herself in a fluffy towel emblazoned with the logo of the Rachel Carter Foundation, the charity that had already helped dozens of families escape the cycle of homelessness and poverty that had nearly claimed Emma and Rachel. What I can't stop thinking about, Rachel said softly, is how close we came to never finding our way back to each other. If your car hadn't broken down on that particular street, if Emma hadn't been brave enough to approach you, if she hadn't offered me her bread, Nathan finished, the smallest act of kindness, from the purest heart I've ever known. If sensing she was the subject of their conversation, Emma looked up at them, her wet hair plastered to her head, her smile radiant with the security of knowing she was loved, protected, home at last. Mom. Dad, are you coming swimming? The water's perfect. Rachel and Nathan exchanged a glance, communicating in the shorthand of partners who, despite everything that had separated them, still read each other effortlessly. Race you to the pool, Nathan challenged, already moving toward the stairs. Rachel laughed, a sound that still delighted him every time he heard it, and followed, their hands still linked, stepping together into the bright afternoon sun and the future that awaited them. A future, built not on wealth or power or status, but on compassion, on forgiveness, on the simple world-changing question of a child